Hey guys, what's up? It's Jules here for WhatCulture Gaming, joined as ever by the roach that I love to ride, Scott Tailford.
Very good. I am floating in midair at this point.
The reason that I use that reference is because it is Witcher time, one of the greatest video game trilogies to come out, and a fantastic book series for those that have taken the time to read it. It is a franchise that has managed to build and build and build, and with the love given by CD Projekt Red, has turned into one of the biggest and probably most popular games ever. And also, everyone just wants to diddle Geralt, don't they?
I think they do. Do you know what they didn't want though? Which is sort of, they're mostly more positive on now.
I feel you're going to lead somewhere to do with the TV series that's just been announced.
Yes!
Oh, okay.
The Netflix TV series, which, I mean, okay, so the new thing that's being said is there was a whole interview from The Wrap talking to the series showrunner, the new Netflix series showrunner, whose name is Lauren Schmidt Hisrag, and she was being asked about like the sort of general direction of the show and like, are they going to be incorporating something like the video games? To which she said, the extreme long vision is no, we will not start adapting the games. She says you can only attack one season at a time. I'm so excited for this upcoming season though. The rest kind of makes my mind explode right now.
Now, I think that that is a perfectly fair statement because it is a huge property to undertake, and you can't be looking at this thing in multi-seasons thing where you don't know if it's going to be, it's going to take off very well. Luckily, they have chosen a very solid IP. It's something that's grown. However, it is causing a lot of fans to shrug and say, well, where's the content going to come from? And obviously, we know that the Witcher book series has been going on for a long, long time, and obviously before that, it's different gestations. But there still is a question of, surely the video game is the reason why the TV show is happening, so why are you not drawing anything from that?
It's weird. I mean, and the one final thing that she said is that if someone says what happens in like season 7, she says like, sure, I have thoughts. She's like, fingers crossed, but we'll, you know, if we get there, and hopefully we get there. And so like, for me, that doesn't rule it out altogether. But the general sort of sentiment seems to be that they want the TV show to stand alone. But like you said, like The Witcher as this like pop culture thing. For me, I mean, I think the writing's pretty much on the wall. It's pretty clear that that came from the third game.
Yes.
Like it's not. I mean, there was a Hexa TV show in Poland, but it's not like that sort of made waves over here. Like it was The Witcher that put it on the map kind of thing. I mean, The Witcher 3 was the copy of the game given to President Obama when he visited Poland because they were so proud of that game kind of thing. And so like, yeah, I think that when people imagine Geralt, they think of the video game version, which isn't massively different, kind of. Like the one in the books is like more wiry, and he kind of has like a headband on at one point, and you know, little bits like things like that.
From what I've been told, because I have not read the book series, I feel like
I've read one of them.
I feel like it'd be something I would really enjoy. I mean, I've played some of The Witcher 1, I played all of The Witcher 2, and the majority of Witcher 3 apart from the DLC.
Cool.
And I can say that I absolutely love it as a franchise. But am I interested in seeing it as a TV show? Yeah. I feel like it's going to fall into a lot of the same problems that most adaptations of video game content fall under. How do you make this sustainable, but also how do you treat it well? Because TV characters, with the amount of dialogue and the amount of time, they're not the player in choosing their own adventure. It's a prescribed event, and we could end up hating characters if they're written badly.
Well, they're already like quite different. And like I said, I've only read Last Wish, which is the initial sort of collection of short stories that Sapkowski did in like '93 or whatever it was, to sort of get the character off the ground, which tends to be the groundwork for. I mean, I totally recommend Last Wish if you just want to leap in. It's more like an anthology thing, like a series of different stories of him being a Witcher, which is a nice way to just get a good feel for everything. In the show, the showrunners like were doing a big interview for IGN, and they said that they've actually come up with a new timeline, because the way that the books are written, you kind of have the Last Wish, which is the initial thing, the anthology, and then you had I think Sword of Destiny is the one after that in the timeline. But then I think Blood of Elves is the first one that is the actual, here's a massive long story across multiple books as opposed to an anthology. So it seems like the showrunners were saying for IGN that they've come up with a new timeline that meshes stuff from The Last Wish and plucks characters from the Blood of Elves thing.
Oh my lord.
Which no, it's okay, because it means they can do their own thing for their TV show.
I think it's great, but at the same time, it's kind of just like they're, you know when people say like you're taking on too much at once? Like it might have actually been a much safer route for them to go down the just a straight adaptation of one of the video games. I mean, you have 3 video games, they're DLCs. You could easily pluck the best stories from them and turn them into full-length episodes and make it sort of like a supernatural style TV show. He rocks up in a town, there's a monster, he tries to get the monster, but it doesn't work the first time, and then he Scooby-Doo's himself, and then he gets into the
That's what I thought it was going to be like Supernatural, which I guess that they're taking a more long-form approach to it, or it seems like they are. They're sort of mentioning long-form characters, like the whole relationship with Siri and everything like that.
A long-form show that can't plan beyond season 1. Do you know that those two things do not overlap?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I think they're going to seed the long form stuff and they have the relationship with Geralt and Yennefer. They've already cast Ciri, so we know that they're going to be playing on that stuff. I don't think they've cast an Emilia yet, whatever. But it seems like they're going to, like you said, do this sort of. They're going to attempt to do this long form stuff, but at the same time, it's way easier to do it formulaically, go episode by episode.
It just makes more sense to me,
and
I will never tell them how to do it, but they have.
Yes, you will.
They've got so much stuff to choose from. They just seem that they're going a little bit overboard. If you've got a pre-established thing, or you know that you can just take something and just adapt it pretty simply, why go to the full length of smushing together all these stories and books to making a new timeline?
Yeah.
Why not just saying, look, here's the classics, here's the best hits, here's the anthology.
Well, I think that's what they're going for. But the thing is, like, I have like a deflation in me kind of thing. When I saw the trailer, where you see the first shot of Henry Cavill as Geralt, where it looks like an unfinished version of the character. Like, he only has one sword. I know that if you really crunch down on the description of his wolf pendant, it's not the big wolf's head like it is in the game. Yeah. Tiny things like that, but like to me, I go, the pendant looks a bit naff and whatever. But I think they are going for a greatest hits thing. They're just saying, look, we can like pick and choose things from the anthology and the long form series, and we can do our own Geralt. But he's kind of the version from the games, but we're not going to acknowledge that he's the one from the games.
That's the thing that possibly is sticking in the teeth for many, because of the fact that, like you say, this is a character that was effectively put on the map by the video games, so that everyone's got an expected style and attitude. And if it comes across as different and people just go, well, you should read the books, those people, will they do that? Will they just not get angry and just be like, this isn't what I signed up for?
Well, as someone who, we've watched all of Game of Thrones, did you ever go back and read the books?
No.
Me neither, which is why I think I guess that would be the same distinction. But to that same token, I kind of want the Witcher show to be able to stand on its own.
Yes.
Which I don't know, I was a little bit nonplussed, like I said, that sort of Netflix formula where it's like, here's this like nascent form of Geralt, he's still figuring himself out. And we see him take a decoction at the end of the trailer when he's fighting that giant spider-looking thing, which is a cool, more advanced Witcher technique or whatever. So like, there are little things like that, but then his look isn't complete yet. He hasn't got the beard, he hasn't got the sword, he hasn't got the pendant, or the proper pendant or whatever.
Yeah.
So there's little things like that I think they could go forward with it. I want to see him get his like Ursine armor as well, which I know is from the games, but I want him like more equipped.
But still, that's the point, isn't it? You want to see that version get closer to the video games, because as a whole, I'd say that a majority of people have spent more time with that version of the character than the other ones.
Plus, if you ever, for the Game of Thrones comparison, if you ever look up how the characters look in the books versus what they look like in the show, someone like Tyrion different. Is completely different. And like I said, the difference between Geralt in the books and the games isn't massive. Like it is in terms of, I guess, like figure. He's more wiry and he's more he's a bit more of like an a-hole in the books. But
I mean, I'll be able to get over it if the quality of the writing is good. I just worry that maybe because they are trying to take too much on their plate, that and trying to balance expectations from the video game and the books, that you might end up with something that's as good as neither.
Kinda. I mean, I think I hold The Witcher very dear. Like Witcher 3 is one of my favorite games of all time. I have a lot of Witcher memorabilia and stuff. And so when they showed the trailer, I thought the budget looked a bit naff. It's sort of like a different thing, but just some of the CG and some of the backgrounds, very green screen.
The budget looked naff when you compare it to massive epics like Game of Thrones. And even when you've got millions of pounds being spent on each episode of Game of Thrones, some of that still looked a bit naff.
Yeah.
So it comes down to a case of you've just got to bite the bullet and accept that TV will always never quite hit that mark.
The thing that, like, if they could hopefully nail in the Netflix show is, before The Witcher 3 came out, they released like a CG trailer where it was Geralt looking after this woman that was sort of like, I think she needed healing and some medicine, and she was out in like, it looked like a big barn kind of thing in the middle of a forest, and then they had the whole thing where she mutated and became like a big wraith and you had to take care of her, and then in the morning she was transformed again, kind of taken from The Last Wish. But like that is kind of, I would totally have that episode by episode, because then you could tap into the stuff from the DLC as well. Yeah. Have the immortal guy that can't die and have things like that.
All I'm saying
is, give me all of it.
If you look at properties that have managed to have successful TV shows, length and knowing how to approach it is definitely is key. I'd say that they've got the right idea with like trying to like go for this broader approach maybe, but maybe the length of the episodes is going to be something that we need to call into question, because look at the Star Wars animated series that was set obviously in the Clone Wars animated series. That was so successful because it delivered on action per minute and it looked great and it looked fantastic. I would gladly take 10-minute short episodes of the Witcher series about his sort of journey to get to where he is now, over an hour-long episode each time.
That's the thing, like Geralt, like obviously is a focus of the books, but from what I understand, my wife reads all of them. So like the long-form ones have a lot to do with Ciri and Yennefer and like the Witches Guild or whatever. And there's a lot more about them, about raising Ciri, which did come through in the games again. But yeah, it's just kind of it's worthwhile them distancing themselves from the games. But I think at some point you'd be remiss to not bring like those core threads through and sort of like bring some of that stuff in. I
think if we're to close out on this point, what would you like to see as one of the episodes? As in, if you were to direct it from bell to bell, what would be the story you'd want to tell? From one of the, let's just do one from one of the video games. Pick your favorite one.
One of the ones, oh god, it would be something, I don't know, it's anything that nails the role of magic in that world, which I know Henry Cavill understands because he's a huge fan of the books and everything. But it's that whole thing that like ill will and malice can actually create magic in the world. So I really like it's just kind of general set dressing in the third game, but when you're journeying around and you see like bodies stacked up and the drowners that come out of the river, any war that's just concluded, you'll have that sort of like someone who died in pain or died like, you know, knowing that they shouldn't have been there or whatever, will come back as this twisted creature. And I like that as just something that just sort of personalizes that world. I think that if you compare it to Game of Thrones, when those characters are going from place to place, especially in the later seasons, not that much happens other than between the two characters. And I would like random interactions from creatures that populate that world, whether that be like some drowners or like a fiend or whatever. So,
I would be totally up for
Give me
that.
the drowners.
For me, it's got to be the baby in the oven. they have to include that bit. I know they're not going to do anything from the video games, but that would
be TV history.
Could you imagine that? Netflix presents Baby in the Oven.
They have to end the episode on when he doesn't know what to do with it, though. If you haven't seen The Witcher 3 Baby in the Oven, feel free to Google that clip.
Honestly, it is one of the
best decisions in gaming history.
It's harrowing, comedic, and also just brilliant writing, because I felt horrible.
You did it. I didn't do it.
I mean, it's a baby in an oven. What else am I going to do?
I chose to keep the baby, but it's like, you should look up the context for it, but there's a reason you're supposed to throw a baby in an oven with a bunch of flames, and the way that it all kind of concludes from there is pure, like, sort of dark fantasy.
You sound like we're defending it, like we're the bad guys. It's like there's a reason we did this. It's like the game gave us this choice, by the way.
True.
But it's not like we decided to program it.
If they can nail that tone, though, like, that's kind of the thing.
It's got to be world building as well. Like, it's such a rich environment for them to capitalize on, and I would hate for this to boil down into maybe something that just feels a bit loose on the ground, if you know what I mean. Like that, because like, if you didn't know the storyline going into Witcher 3, you'd be so lost. And I want that depth, I want that meatiness to go into it. I don't know.
Which I think that's why they've kind of picked and chose some different things so they can start on like a fresh foot. And so maybe get away from, because the books are concluded now. So it's like, you people who have read them are going to know where it's going to go. So whatever, there's pros and cons to them distancing it this way. I think iconography wise, we're all, like, the millions of us are going to see Geralt as video game Geralt. So we'll see.
Just for the record, we are not here slating the fact that this project is not going to have anything to do with the video games. It's just an interesting take on it to say this is a popular character, maybe given a lot more spotlight because of the video games, and we're going to try and distance ourselves.
It's only the fact that I think they're starting out with a purposefully not Geralt. He hasn't got his two swords in the pendant yet, or whatever, and it makes me go like, okay, he hasn't even got his scar yet, I don't think. So it's like, there are things like that where I'm like, okay, Netflix standard mold, by episode 13, he'll be the version that we want, a la Daredevil, a la Jessica Jones, or whatever, so yeah.
But let us know what you think about it down in the comments section below, as well as any other key Witcher moments that you would love to see make it to TV in whatever form.
But only from the books, though.
But only from the books, but I also accept from the video games as well. Are you guys even happy with the fact that they're basing this more on the books than the video games? Again, this discussion can go down in the comment section below. But if you want to chat to us more about this or anything else, you can do so at RetroJ with a 0 for myself over on Twitter. And
I am at /LP89. And almost forgot again.
Almost.
Almost.
Anyway, we hope to see you soon. Catch you later, guys.
Bye.